Hello, my thirsty little gremlins. Welcome back to Swooning Over Stans. The two of you continue deeper into the forest. The foliage seems denser now, and you look through the treetops for a glimpse of the sun, which has by now dropped low in the sky. It had already been getting late when you left, but you hadn't thought Mothman would be this far out. Almost as though he's read your mind, Ford answers for you. Mothman is rather reclusive, and as such lives deeper within the forest than bolder creatures like gnomes. Are you alright? Huh? That is, are you tired at all? I should have asked sooner. It's just been a long time since I've traveled with anyone new. Stanley tends to speak his mind without my asking. I'm fine, really. I'm glad to hear it. Still, we have some time until sunset. Let's wait here in the meantime. Ooh, why wait until sunset? Is this what you do for fun? Saving my niece's pet from possible danger? No, not really. I mean, what about trips like these and your research? They come with a certain thrill, and I do enjoy my research, but one of my most favorite pastimes, Dipper tells me it's actually grown quite popular recently, is playing dungeons, and more dungeons. Oh, you sweet nerd. I believe Dipper's prepared a campaign he thinks will really stump me this time. I am incredibly excited. The moment the sun touches the horizon through the gaps in the treetops, Ford gestures for the two of you to continue. You hadn't noticed, but you'd been resting within a short distance of a small clearing that holds a cylindrical stone marker. The stone marker bears intricate swirls carved into its surface. Ford reaches into his coat and produces a packet of gum from earlier, opening it and dumping the pieces out onto his palm. Gum? Thanks. Unsure of why you came all this way to unwrap gum at sunset, you accept a stick of gum. Ford puts the remaining gum in his coat breast pocket. He unwraps the now empty gum packet to reveal that it was hiding a small piece of parchment, folded up to act as lining. He smooths it out against the stone, holding it under the deep orange-red light of the sunset. You step closer to look over Ford's shoulder. The parchment holds a detailed drawing of the swirls carved into the stone, documenting every crack on the surface. As you watch, a golden cursive unfolds itself across the page, seemingly fueled by the sunset's warm light. Ford reads the words as they appear. Such a place the Mothman doth rest. But please do not disturb his nest. If kindness be something thou bereft, Ford lifts the parchment a little higher to prevent his shadow from obscuring the rest of the line. Follow thy nature and turn left. Wow. What the fuck does bereft mean, dude? Oh, so if we are deprived of kindness, we should follow it and turn left. I think so, extraordinary. We press onward. Left leads you into a dimly lit cave, which Ford says he remembers well, except last time he was here it was pitch black since he arrived in the middle of the night. From its depths you hear a faint sound of dripping water, echoing off the cave's shadow-shrouded walls. You slow as your eyes attempt to adjust to the low light. Ford pauses in front of you, reaching into his coat for something. Hold on, I have a flashlight in here somewhere. The cave has never received much natural light, you see, and, He rummages further, and you see a couple dice, the pad of paper from earlier, and a quill. He has a custom pocket work going on in there, too, and you bet one of his coat's inner pockets has a pen protector in it. Here we are, at last. Allow me to... Darn, out of batteries. Wait, I think I have one. You pull out your phone and turn on its flashlight. The light is small, but it does the job. Ah, you saved our eyes here. Extraordinary. I was about to pull out a matchbook. With your light guiding the way, you and Ford move further into the cave, which yawns wide around you. It isn't until the sliver of natural light from the entrance disappears that Ford speaks again. It's been years since I've been here, decades even, at this point. But I'll always remember the eye bats as one of my first discoveries when I arrived at Gravity Falls. How did you find them in the first place? Oh, one got into my house, you see. I was making breakfast one morning and one managed to find my cereal box. When I poured the cereal into the bowl, it came fluttering out, agitated, like it belonged there. The nerve. He still sounds so indignant even after years later that you laugh. I wanted to contain it for further study, but unfortunately managed to get away. As I thought about it afterwards, its pupil had constricted against the light, unfamiliar to the bright light in the kitchen. So it's either nocturnal, or it lives in the deepest, darkest cave in Gravity Falls. I found them easily after that. Did you manage to catch one? Somewhat. I came running through the cave with a butterfly net and my wits. I bought a working flashlight that time. They all hid in dark corners. Once I turned the flashlight off, they flocked to me. I caught 18 of them that day, but it reminded me of the stealth uses of... The rapid sound of clicking claws against stone startles you, a shiver running up your spine. The dark. You turn off your light. Ford taps your shoulder and gestures for you to keep moving forward. Eventually, the narrow passage widens into a large room. The darkness shrouds the source of the dripping water from view, but as your eyes adjust, you squint to see a strange winged shadow. A shadow with eyes that glow red in near darkness like rubies. Your breath catches in your throat as the realization comes over you. Ford is apparently fairly close to you in the room. You find when he speaks a few inches from your shoulder. You catch the shadow of his arm swing out in a wide arc, like he's introducing you to... Extraordinary! I'd like you to meet the Mothman. He whispers, but even in the dark you see him grinning excitedly at you. Ford looks between you and the Mothman, apparently hoping for a dramatic reaction. Your speechlessness seems to satisfy him. Don't worry, it hasn't noticed us yet.
Now, listen.
Oh shit, there's voices? Ah! Here's the plan. You make contact with Mothman and I... He pulls out a butterfly net and a large lidded jar. Now where that one came from within his coat of mysteries is lost to you. It came from his butt. We'll capture one of the 100 moths that comprise it. Wait, I get to touch Mothman? The Mothman? Yes, and it turns into 100 black witch moths. It's like experiencing a swarm of locusts. Surprising when you're not expecting it. Remember, even just a light touch is enough. You steel yourself, awaiting Ford's signal. He waves his hand to coax you forward. And then, it's up to you to decide how to, well, make contact. Do I run around back to its blind spot, run straight for it, or approach with stealth? I will try to approach with stealth. You tiptoe towards the Mothman, remembering Ford's comment on the dark and trying to channel your inner stealth skills. Of course, that's the moment your phone decides to start blasting Taken Over Midnight by Ampersandra. Jesus Christ. You're confused before remembering that Mabel added her number to your contacts and must have made that her custom ringtone. Mothman turns to the noise and screeches, but before you can barrel into it, the creature explodes into 100 moths, fluttering around you, getting stuck in your shirt and skittering around your face, surrounding you in mothy hell. Your task accomplished, Ford rushes into a large swarm of moths, waving a butterfly net with a few unsuccessful swipes. He tries swatting the more aggressive ones away, but there are too many. Use the phone light to attract them towards you and away from Ford, or run up and start swatting with your bare hands. I'm going to use my light. You grab your phone and quickly switch the light on, running to Ford's side and holding it up high. You even attempt to call him over, despite knowing that they don't respond to sound. Before long, they all crowd around the phone. The sight of the light flickering and reflecting off of so many small wings could be somewhat captivating if you hadn't just been in the midst of them. Ford puts the butterfly net back away, and jar in hand, carefully scoops one of the moths up. Well, that could have gone better, but we've succeeded nonetheless. As Ford pockets the jar, you turn off the light. With no light and no threat to focus in on, the cloud disperses. That was amazing! Ford laughs, brushing dust and dirt off his trench coat. You could say that. Our completed repellent is within sight. Let's head back. When you and Ford finally reach the cave entrance, you find the forest that you'd left in the daylight is now awash with silvery glow. A gap between the leaves overhead provides a view of the night sky, along with a long string of stars. A few more steps, and the Milky Way comes into view, looking as if a tear across the fabric of the sky. Or as if a tear. That's where English gets tricky. Ford notices you looking. See something? The pterodactyl doesn't usually come out this late, but being a prehistoric creature, its behavior is rather unpredictable. I've never seen the Milky Way in person before. It looks amazing, isn't it? It's remarkable what you can see without light pollution from the city. Here on the outskirts of town, you can see a good portion of the Milky Way every night. He gazes up into the night sky. A whole year has passed, yet it still feels so strange to see a sky I recognize. What? Oh, traveling. I was in a different part of the world. Oh, look at you. Tell me all about your interdimensional travels, you sexy man. You both stare up at the sky in comfortable silence for a few more moments. The quiet of the forest settles in, along with the distant sound of flowing water, and you find yourself surprisingly glad that Ford had accidentally pulled you here, if this is one of the moments you get to experience. The scroll little wheelie thing just moves pictures, so. Out of the corner of your eye, you swear you see Ford looking at you instead of up, but when you tilt your head back down, his attention is elsewhere. We're having a moment! Eventually, the two of you come to a wordless mutual agreement to continue on, and you're walking again. You'll have to show me the other creatures that live here sometime. You're glad you said so when you look over and find that Ford looks pleasantly surprised to hear it. His chest puffs up with pride. Of course! Maybe we'll even get the spot to hide behind, or tag along with Dipper when he next visits the multi-bear. The what? Ford taps his temple, grinning. You'll have to wait until I show you to find out. Sir, the only bear I want is you. I'm holding you to that. We have some time left before we get back, if you're up for another walk. You must make a face because Ford looks back at you and laughs. We're not far, I promise. I just thought I might answer a few of your questions if you have any. Actually, I do have questions. You must stay in great shape if you do this all day. Actually, this sort of thing isn't part of my exercise regimen. Ford turns left at a stone marker towards the sound of the river, and sure enough, after a while it comes into view. The moonlight illuminates the water as you walk along it. Oh my god. This is where they went fishing. This is where Stan told the best joke of all time. After following the river for quite a few minutes, the shoreline expands into a small round lake in the center of a clearing. Overhanging it is a large flat rock, the kind that could be used as a less than effective diving board in times of emergency, the emergency being that one just had to jump into the lake. However, neither yourself nor Ford really look in the direction of the diving board. He leads you towards the edge of the lake where a relatively flat boulder could substitute for a bench, and the two of you take a seat. Break the silence. Ask about the creatures, his family, the mystery shack, staying. Ask Ford about the stars or wait for him. Ooh, I'm gonna I will ask about the other creatures. You said to wait, but can I at least give a preview of what I'd be getting into? Not content to leave them to discover yourself, Well, has anyone told you about the Gobblewonker? You snort, taken aback by the name, but compose yourself when Ford simply raises an eyebrow. I don't think so, no. Not even in the tourist guide? Does the office even read my letters? Ford mutters to himself something about updating the tourist guide to ward against local dangers. He sighs with a frustration that's reserved for bureaucracy, but soon lightens up at the prospect of getting to introduce you to another strange creature. Well, the Gobblewonker is a sea creature that lives in this very lake. One could say it's our version of the Loch Ness Monster. My old research assistant apparently saw it at some point. He said it was large, grey and scaly, with a long neck like a giraffe. You wouldn't have had any odd sightings yet, have you? It's only been 24 hours, but my first encounter with the strange occurred shortly after my arrival as well. What about last night? I didn't see anything last night. Or did I? It's a little silly, but I felt a little unsettled last night before I went to bed. Almost like I was being watched, out in the hallway. Ah, that must be our unwanted guest, the decapitated head of wax figure Larry King. Oh, whoever made this has such a great, deep understanding of Gravity Falls and such an appreciation, and I am smiling so much playing this. I know it's a fucking Grunkle's dating sim, but god, it's fun. Just try to ignore it. We haven't been able to finish him out yet. Ask Ford about the stars. You ask Ford if he has a favorite constellation, and his answer comes faster than you expected. Orion and Ursa Major, without a doubt. What about you? I think I'll say I like stars in general. So in a sense, they're all your favorite. I'm not gonna ask about the Mystery Shack. I don't know, I'm just like thinking about, what I would actually say in this situation. Are you really okay with me staying here? Absolutely, I owe it to you after all. You helping me today, however, was not part of the plan. You're making it rather hard to settle my debt. I think you did me a favor just by letting me come along today. The two of you share a smile. Now I'm gonna wait for him. Ford looks out across the lake in a thought. Extraordinary, I have to admit. I didn't want to take you with me earlier today. I thought I'd be walking myself into an uncomfortable social situation. So did you, to be honest. And you did well out there. Not many tourists could handle the kind of task we just completed. This had the potential to have gone disastrously. I mean, a butterfly net against Mothman, easily a 3% success rate. Sometimes the more Ford speaks, the less reassured you feel until all that's left is a distant unease. You smile and nod anyway. The two of you sit in another moment of quiet night air pleasantly chill around you until Ford again breaks it. We should head back now. I'm sure Mabel will want to hear that we've been successful. You stand up and give Ford a hand up from the makeshift bench. Ford takes the lead again, and soon you're no longer able to catch sight of the lake when you glance back. Ford gradually adjusts his pace to yours, walking side by side with you in companionable silence all the way back to the shack. The Love Shack. Almost there. You recognize from the incredibly flashy signs touting phrases like Mystery Shack this way and Sasquatch to your left that you are extremely close to arriving back at the shack. The Love Shack. As you and Ford leave the tree line, you see a bright light shining on the porch. You make out the faint outline of the kids' shadows as they run through the house and emerge in the attic window, and Mabel pushes it open, leaning out. Grunkle, Ford! Finally! You guys took so long I had time to cover waddles and macaroni. Why would you do that? I have my reasons. Did you get the thing? Yes, and I'm coming inside so we can stop shouting. Extraordinary, come along, we've got a pig to save. Ford strides into the shack, a man on a mission, You grin and follow, but not before taking one last look at the night sky. Yeah, maybe your stay won't be too bad after all. Back inside the shack, the grand conclusion to our expedition to the Mothman's cave is spritzing Mabel's pig with a newly finished detergent until the poor piglet reeks of lavender. You see Mabel and Dipper head up to bed, looking sleepier than usual as a result. Something about lavender is so soothing to the senses that you crash out fairly soon afterwards, face first on your makeshift bed. The love meter. Can you give me dating tips? You're good at this. It's like you were made for each other. Okay. That's not like high on the love meter, but you know. Things are happening. You wake up to a loud crash downstairs, not entirely uncommon in this house. You're quickly finding out, but still disconcerting. More clatters and thumps lead you to the kitchen, where Mabel teeters on a short step ladder in front of the pantry. Standing on her tiptoes, she reaches as high as she can for a small yellow box on the top shelf. Pancake mix. Without a word, you go to her side and pluck the box from the shelf for her, placing it into her outstretched hand. Oh, extraordinary! Thank you. Grunkle Stan put it on the top shelf for some reason, but I need some Mabel cakes. It's a breakfast emergency! She waggles her free fingers in your face, and you can't help but laugh. You can tell the house becomes more alive when the kids are around. Wanna help me make them? We only need chocolate milk, coffee, pink food coloring, and pot of Goldos to make this breakfast dream a breakfast reality. As delicious as that sounds, you're inclined to ask where the coffee comes into mix when you realize the house is suspiciously quiet. Mabel, where is everybody? Oh, Grunkle Stan needed stuff for your car, so he went to get Mecky Techie stuff for that. I think Grunkle Ford's somewhere. He heard the abominable broman was trying to steal soda from campers, so he went to help them out. Yep, that's where he went. Totally knew that. So they left you guys to make breakfast on your own? You don't know the family well enough yet to know this is commonplace, so the idea of leaving two teenagers, technically teenagers, alone to fend for themselves seemed fine, if one of the teenagers wasn't Mabel anyway. You still don't know how hot coffee fits into Mabel cakes, but now you don't really want to know. Dipper attempts to hide the pancake mix from Mabel while she's grabbing the chocolate milk from the fridge. Apparently he doesn't want to find out either. Mabel, while your Mabel cakes sound absolutely divine, why don't we, think of something so we don't hurt her feelings? Go out for breakfast. Is there somewhere we can go out for breakfast? We should really save the Mabel cakes till your great uncles get back. I know they would want to miss them. You glance at Dipper, making a please help me and I'll buy you breakfast face. You hope he understands. Yeah, Mabel, I know you want to cook more since you're becoming an adult. Sure, but don't you think Grunkle Stan and Grunkle Ford should be here to try them too, and not just me, again? Mabel hops off the stepladder and ponders her brother's question, lips pursed. Eventually, she nods, beaming at you both. You're right, Dipper. I can't deny them that experience. You give Dipper a thankful smile over Mabel's head as she puts the ingredients back in the refrigerator. He grins back at you, rubbing the back of his neck. You wonder if he got that from one of his grunkles. We should go to Greasy's. They have some of the best pancakes here, with like 3 different kinds of syrup, if you ask Lazy Susan nicely. Yeah, it's not super far. Let's go. The kids are about to head out of the kitchen when you realize something. Wait, aren't you going to leave a note for your grunkles about where we're going? Alright, good call. Deborah scribbles out a note for Stan and Ford and sticks it on the front door of the shack with one of Mabel's stickers. The kids lead the way towards the town, explaining various landmarks and the wild and wonderful stories attached to them along the way. And this is where we saw these 2 ghostly old people. In a convenience store? Strange, but you nod regardless. Maybe she just meant they were so old they looked like ghosts. No, that was one of the more scarring episodes of this whole show. Ugh. Though after what you've heard about Gravity Falls already, you could believe they were real ghosts. Dipper points out the diner in the distance, a log-shaped building atop a train cart, and the three of you head inside. An elderly woman in a pastel pink waitress dress comes up to the table, and you catch the name on her tag, Susan. Hiya, kids, and stranger, what can I get for ya? Pancakes and all 3 syrups for me, please, Lazy Susan. Same for me, actually. Lazy Susan turns to you, notepad in hand. What'll you get? Ooh, I'm gonna get pancakes. Coming right up, sweetie. Lazy Susan winks, with her good eye, of course, and heads to the back of the diner. The wait for your food to arrive feels longer here than most, mainly due to Mabel and Dipper using this time to interrogate you. At first, it's somewhat intimidating. You literally crashed into their house and started hanging out with their great uncles, so they have lots of questions. Once the irrational fear of the 2 13-year-olds fades out, you recognize their interview for what it really is. They care about their grunkles. If you do start hanging out with them more, they want to know as much about you as possible. Mabel's questions are somewhat nonsensical. So if you were stranded in a desert island with no boat, no cheating, what would you take with you? Well, Dippers are more careful and calculated. What were you doing before you came here? School? Work? Both? Neither? Did you know about Gravity Falls before you crashed into the shack? You immediately know which Grunkle each twin takes after. Stan and Mabel, goofy partners in crime, versus the quiet brainiacs, Ford and Dipper. It's an intriguing contrast, especially now that you've thrown into the middle of the bunch. But as the twins race to see which syrup bottle drips into their mouths the fastest, Dipper's blueberry syrup beats Mabel's classic maple by half a millisecond, you swear on it, you know that these kids do a lot more for their great uncles than just be cute counterparts. And here we go. Enjoy, kiddos. Let me know if you need anything else. Lazy Susan gives out their respective plates and the kids go quiet, shoveling down their food like they've never been fed before. So extraordinary, if, in a totally made-up and not real situation, you had to pick who your favorite was. Who would you pick? Grunkle Stan or Grunkle Ford? This seems too planned compared to their other cutesy questions. Dipper elbows his sister not so subtly and she elbows him right back, wide eyes staring back at him in a sibling-linked look you can't decipher. Like, say you're in a movie, like one of those weird movies Grunkle Stan watches on TV with the ladies in poofy dresses riding horses. Awfully specific, but you let her continue, taking another bite of your food. You're the main character of this movie, and you got 2 guys who are both madly in love with you. This one doesn't mess around with getting right to the point, huh? But you could only marry one of them, so you could be the next in line for the throne. What would you do? If Grunkle Stan and Grunkle Ford were your choices, who would you go with? Mabel, that's kind of weird, isn't it? Like, really weird? And kind of gross? Come on, Dipper. This is important information that's vital to my research. What research? None of your business. Yet. But I'm still gathering. Ooh, the research. Mabel leans toward Dipper's ear to whisper, wagging her brow at you before she replies. And not a whisper, but quite the opposite. Research into how you're a huge nerd? You guys are dorks. Maybe you're right, but we're twins, so it's adorable. If you say so, Mabel. Wait, quick, extraordinary, take a picture of us while Dipper's got pancake on his face. I have what? He swipes quickly at his face and after several passes gets it off. I was trying to get more candid pictures of us. Mabel, you have syrup everywhere. Really? Aw, then it would have been a perfect photo. Here, let me get it. Your hands are sticky enough. You get back up with napkin in hand and try to wipe some of the syrup off Mabel's cheeks. The excess syrup swipes off easily, but a good portion doesn't budge. I mean, maybe syrup as makeup is the next new look. That's one word for it, kid. We wondered where you went once we came back to a suspiciously quiet house. If it weren't for Dipper's note, we would have been worried. Sixter would have been worried. I tried to tell him you kids pull this kind of stuff all the time. Had not unannounced, putting stress on your poor old Grunkle's heart. He puts a hand over his heart dramatically. All those missing hours of unpaid child labor. Actually, that note wasn't me. Well, I wrote it, but Extraordinary is the one who said we should, so that you know where we went. Both Ford and Stan turned to look at you, surprised. Really? Figured these two knuckleheads dragged you here. Why not make breakfast at home? This place is at least a 15-minute walk from the shack. Well, you glance at Dipper, swiping his finger across Mabel's cheek and licking the blueberry syrup off. Mabel has pancake in her mouth, chewing on it like a grazing sheep. I wanted to treat them to something, I guess. It's the least I can do. You're letting me stay with you and fixing my car. I thought since you were gone, I'd take these two out for a change. Also, Mabel was gonna make Mabel cakes again. You're just mad you can't even make toast right. What? Yes, I can. I burned it one time. One time! Dipper holds his syrup-tipped fingers in the air, indignant. Well, Mabel wanted you guys to enjoy her Mabel cakes too, and since there wasn't much food, I figured I'd take them out. Stan snatches the pancake from Mabel's mouth and takes a bite out of it, cackling when she stands on the seat and tries to grab it back, climbing over Dipper to reach. Aside from the kerfuffle, you catch Ford's eye. Was he staring at you? As soon as he realizes, he quickly sets the gaze elsewhere, looking over your head and out the window. You'd say he probably just shifted his attention, but his finger hooks under the high neck of his sweater and tugs at it. Well, Extraordinary, I really appreciate you looking after Dipple and Mabel for, us. It was very kind of you to bring them here. We've got chemistry, guys. There's tension in the air. Oh, it wasn't a big deal, really. I'm happy to help. You smile at him, pretending you don't feel how warm your face is. Maybe it's just hot and greasy. Ford looks close to the shade of his sweater. Dipper mumbles an ow, and you catch Mabel elbowing his side, wiggling her brows at him. You're not sure why. Well, kid, if you're paying, scoot over, Dipper. I want breakfast too. Stanley, it's at least 12:30 now. Grunkle Ford, that means it's time for brunch, duh. See, this kid gets me. Now let me in so I can get some grub. Dipper moves to your side of the booth as Stan sits next to Mabel, and Ford sits at Dipper's side. Lazy Susan comes back and takes orders for another round of food and drinks for everyone, including Mabel, who decided she wants more pancakes. You're starting to regret offering to pay, but as Stan and Mabel try their hand at the syrup drip race, with Dipper cheering them on, Ford watching with a wide grin on his face, you know you don't really mind that much. After the expedition to find Mothman, you accompanied Ford on a few other missions, so to speak, examining various birds of the forest, including the questionable stomach-faced duck, who snatched your sandwich and quickly ran off, Ford in hot pursuit. While he didn't find what evidence he needed, something to do with their digestive systems, you both decided that the stomach-faced duck flock were questionable. Not as questionable as the question quail, which he shows you from a scanned journal page, but still questionable. You asked why he decided that Hoctopus was too stupid to study, but received a loud groan and too sticky as an answer. Valid point. All in all, your adventures with Ford have been more enjoyable than you'd expected, and you can't help but hope that you'll get to experience another one with him soon. You walk through the living room, lost in thought about the question quails and Ford's journal pages, and narrowly avoid slipping on a sheet of graph paper. Ah, don't look! Oh, it's you. Dipper peers out over a book that proclaims DD and more D, officially Lance's campaign journal. He's sitting on a yellow armchair with crisscrossed legs, barricaded with books and papers. He's got a lap of multicolored dice and half a dozen chewed pencils strewn across the floor and one in his mouth. You look down and notice the floor is almost entirely covered in graph paper. Hi? Did you need something? I know it's kind of messy. I should probably clean that up. Dipper looks reluctant to extract himself from his self-constructed fantasy lore prison. Here, I can do it. You look busy. You're about halfway through cleaning the floor when you actually start looking at what's on the various sheets you're holding. A fantasy map, some floor plans, and countless scribbled notes and calculations in the margins. What are these for? Planning something? Dipper's re-immersed in his planning. He startles a little when you ask. Oh right, no big deal. It's just for this great pen and paper role-playing game called Dungeons and More Dungeons. It's all about fantasy worlds and statistics and swords, and well, it's kind of difficult to explain, but it's super fun. I'm playing it with Grunkle 4 today, so I'm just putting down the final touches on my dungeon. He's gonna be so stumped. Stumped, you say? Ford comes into the room at that precise moment, drying his hands on his trench coat. He had been pissin'. Perfect timing, Dipper. I just managed to get the paint off my hands. Paint from what? Oh, one of the gnomes came by and decided he'd graffiti the side of the house. Something about his rapper persona. Sheesh. Yeah, I don't think Jay Gnomesy is going anywhere in the music business. In any event, I see you've been hard at work. Are you ready for our game? Yes, and oh, extraordinary, I can take those now. Thanks for the help. Ford looks like he just noticed you standing there for the first time since he entered the room. Extraordinary! Glad to see you weren't too shaken up by our adventure yesterday. You grin and hand Dipper the tall stack of papers, catching a glimpse of the stats for a knock-knock skull. Well, I made it back in one piece, right? That's the spirit. Though 90% of a piece would have been good too. You know, you never realize how little a difference 10% makes until you lose it. Uh-huh. So how is the Mothman? Shaken up. All in the name of research, though. I've seen it lose a few moths and come back the next week, good as new. A process akin to cycling out dead cells. I would say we just expedited that process. No moral issues there. Well, extraordinary, the game calls and I must answer. Stanley's about if you're looking for him, though. Well, if you wanted to join our game, I certainly wouldn't object. I can promise a fun afternoon. Another player! Yeah, totally. I can give you a pre-made character sheet to start and dice. Shoot, where did I put my other set? Don't worry, I've got an extra set. Me? I don't even know how to play. Oh man, there's so many rules. Where to start? I mean, it's really easy to pick up. It's, even like kind of popular now. You're not sure about committing the whole afternoon to this game with Ford. Actually, yes, I fucking am. Though Dipper does seem pretty excited about it, but Stan's around too, and you wanted to go check on your car. No, the fuck I didn't. Well, think about it, extraordinary. Dipper, my boy. Why don't you and I get things set up in the meantime? Ford and Dipper launch into fantasy lore talk as they prop up a cork board against a yellow armchair, pin up various maps and floor plans with important landmarks, and append their pouches of dice onto the carpet. Yeah, I'm gonna have to join the game. Great! Oh shoot, did you look at my plans earlier? Those are for the Dungeon Master's eyes only. If only I'd known you were gonna join us. Yeah, I did. I know all your plans. All of them. Haha, very funny. Or do you? Grunkle Ford, do you think they... What? Sorry? I was rereading the passage on Dwarven architecture. They really improved their illustrations, though I can't say the same for their prose. Dipper and Ford put the final pieces into their place. The floor is encircled in a mix of popped-up corkboards, books, maps, notes, and loose-leaf paper. Ford unfolds a game board in the center of the madness. Okay, so before we get into playing DD and MD, I will be ending this episode now, trying to keep it around half an hour, though it does actually seem to be pretty long. But you know what, I'm really enjoying it. I think this episode isn't gonna be maybe as fun as the first one editing-wise. It was just a bit more chill and like not as eventful, I guess, as the first one, but still super entertaining, super well written. I love the backgrounds. I love everything so far. And yeah, I'm now getting a little unsettled by their bulging eyes staring at me. So I'm gonna end it here. If you enjoyed, please leave a like. That would mean a lot to me. And I'll see you super soon with the next episode. Bye for now.